room, and I thought I would talk about, I just felt led to talk about my journey to this point and how the Lord has hid me from, not just from other people, but from myself. Like I had no idea the gifts that I had. I didn't even know that I was smart when I was a child. And I think that might have been for my own protection. And I'm seeing this, I'm seeing the consequence that could have been through knowing who I was and my potential through someone else's journey. Like when you know that you're smart and then and someone's poured into you as you're young, you have a tendency to have a set way of thinking that leads you to believe that certain things, like you're invincible, or that you can get away with things that you shouldn't be getting away with. So, let me start off by saying my name is Deborah. This is You Are Made Marvelously, and I was led to do this channel to share some truths about what I've had to go through, endure, what I've discovered about the spiritual realm, about the people who are supposed to be protecting us in relations to the political scheme, and people in positions that are supposed to protect us in relations to, protective services, people who are supposed to protect us in relations to medical services, judicial services, the truth behind all that stuff. So, this is it. So just let me give you a little story about when I was growing up. When I was growing up, my parents, I was at home having a great time playing with toys, all kinds of stuff. And when I turned 4, my mother just got me dressed and took me to a building and just dropped me off. I had no idea why I was there. I had no idea that I knew somehow it was school. Hi. I knew somehow it was school, but I knew there was other kids there, but I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing there. So that was the first like issue for me, because while everyone was learning, I was trying to figure out why the heck I was there. Anyway, I spent a lot. I enjoyed it because I spent a lot of time playing, and shortly after that, we moved to another house where we'd spent a great deal of our years, growing and maturing as a family. And this time, and if I'm actually, this house is very close to that house. If I, if that house could speak, the amount of things that that house would say, there was so much abuse there by the hands of my dad, and sometimes a little bit by my mom. But because my dad, if the head is sick, the body is sick. Okay, so my dad was abusive, so it was modeled for us to kind of be strategically abusive to each other. Not like, I mean, he wouldn't permit us to hurt each other like physically, although we did fight sometimes. But in relations to like teaming up against each other, the unified family dynamic was not encouraged. There was an illusion of that, because he would say, my parents would say, yes, this, you can't go out and bring friends here, you can't, go out and hang out with people's homes and stuff like that. But in the home, there was always pitting one against the other in our house. There was favorites, there's favoritism, there was like um privileges based on age, privileges based on gender, etc., etc. A lot of resentment towards each other sorry, resentments towards each other based on favoritism. So that started in the home. Now, going back to school, because of like the kind of catching up in relations to the learning, because once you start having gaps, it's hard to catch up unless someone realizes you have gaps, and then they can catch you up. But part of the problem for me was that my parents were always working. Their idea was money, 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 money. So a lot of times when they're gone to work, just as long as we didn't set the house on fire, we were allowed to kind of be home by ourselves. And we would go to bed late watching cartoons. Luckily, we weren't watching anything bad, because we could have been watching God knows whatever else we could have been watching, but we were watching mostly cartoons, and go to bed late and then get up late to go to school, rush. It was a cycle, like, repeated itself. Go to school late the next day. I just couldn't wait for the weekend, because then that way I could actually sleep in and watch cartoons. That was my childhood. I learned some things, but I do believe that there was some, what the Lord did at that time is that he would do a couple things so that I wouldn't completely feel lost. So one example is, like, I got sick. I was sick a lot when I was a child. And there was one time where there was a competition at the school where you could make a poster that was promoting some kind of thing they were selling. At that time I wasn't home, but I knew that if I was a part of it, I could kill it because I was a good drawer at that time. So my sister, who was in a grade or two younger than me, I decided I was going to make her poster for her. And I made the poster for her, sent her to school with it, and she won a silver dollar. Everyone who won from their age group, their grade level, got a silver dollar. Up to this day, she never really even said thank you. I guess and she didn't draw it. It was me, but I was sick. But anyway, she kept the dollar, which is fine. But at that time, I knew like the Lord would let me have little victories here and there to let me know that I'm not a totally lost cause, although there was no one really around me to kind of cheer me on and to kind of say you're doing a great job. As a matter of fact, when I was at the age where I started to come into my womanhood, I used to have major cramps, like cramps to the point where I would be sick. Like I couldn't hold food down. I had to leave. It was almost like having, now that I've had children, it was like having, um, it was like giving birth or having, uh, what's it called? Contractions. So oftentimes each month, my mom would have to come pick me up and take me home because I couldn't sit in class. I couldn't sit still. It was a painful situation. And at that time, I'd go home, and when had a period where the pain started to subside, I would actually draw, and actually drew so well that a couple things I went to as a child, they would keep the drawings I'd make. And I think there's a place that somewhere in Halton Hill, somewhere not like north of here, that still has my picture in a frame on the wall. That was done. I don't know what year that was. It was a long time ago. But anyway, um, so I've had little victories here and there to kind of like that the Lord was kind of showing me like you're going through some stuff. You're not stupid. You're pretty gifted, but you're going to go through trials. I went through periods of this so many times in my life. Um, so the reason why I'm saying this is because there are people in my life that when I start to say certain things, we're like, oh, she's crazy, she's this, she's that. And I don't hate you. As a matter of fact, I'm thankful because that just solidifies for me that God was hiding me. I can imagine if people knew the gifts I had and how smart I might be. I'm not even too sure how smart that really is, but I know that I'm not stupid. How much people would have really used me at that time, and maybe how much I would have like put myself in a situation that I would have maybe hurt myself. Because I know for sure, like I've already done. I know I've done some things where if the Lord let me get away with it, I would have been so in trouble. I was crafty. Let me tell you a little story, like about how crafty I was, and I hope this family never sees this. There was one time, as children, when the people from the West Indies came here, a lot of time was spent having parties and getting together. I guess maybe I'm thinking back to it. I'm thinking maybe they were thinking that they were so happy that they're here to make a better life for themselves. So there was a lot of parties, going to each other's house. Like someone would invite us to dinner, and we go to their house for dinner, and the kids would play together, and the parents would be wherever they're going to be. Anyway, there was one time in this very community where we're at right now, there was a family that we grew up. We grew together, and actually, they still kind of connect with my mom right now. Where the kids were playing, we were all playing in the room and making a heap of noise. We were being so rambunctious, and we were taking pillows and banging all kind of stuff. And it wasn't me. One of the children, one of us, hit the light shade, and it broke. And when the lampshade broke and fell, you could hear the adults quiet downstairs. So we knew, okay, what the heck? Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? So what I did is I climbed up on the bed and I undid the screw that holds the lampshade in place so that they would think that the lampshade was loose and it fell on its own. This is how I was as a child. Like all this intelligence wasted on the playing. Anyway, that's kind of how I've always been. Like, I'll give you another story. When I got a little bit older, I've always been a young person who was thought like an adult. Even kids used to come to me and ask me for advice. They'd come and cry to me, this person did this to me. I used to go and fight kids for other kids. Anyway, there was a time where my family went to a family barbecue. And there was one of my cousins and his wife were known to be very strict with their kids. Like everyone, all the little other little boys were listening to hip hop and they had their pants hanging down. And this boy was told, "Boy, if you ever think you're gonna put your pants," stupid. Anyway, um, so these kids must have been about 11 at this time. They were young, but they were given adult responsibilities. So we the kids would always separate. The adults would always do their thing and the kids would always go do find something to do. So there was a big park, so the kids went off to go run around and play. And this what the son of this particular cousin and his wife had the keys, and he dropped the keys somewhere. Mind you, this is a park, like a public park. The park is huge. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I just fought for this kid's safety because they were so strict, and I already knew they used to get like spanking, like major. Like I did too. So it's a thing in our family, like where kids were beat into submission. Anyway, so I'm thinking to myself, I have to help him. I have to help my cousin figure out how to get these keys. So there was about 25 kids, like, because it was a like almost like a family reunion kind of barbecue, summer barbecue. And so I said, okay, everybody, grab hands and line up. So we kind of knew the area in which we were playing. We kind of knew the general area we were playing. And I said, hold hands, and we're going to walk, and we're going to scan the grass, and we're going to see if we can find these keys. And you know that we actually found the keys this way. This is the last time I saw that child, and I know that he probably never forgot this, but that's kind of how my brain worked. Those are the kind of things that the Lord led me to, kind of kept me going, let me know that I'm actually smart. Whether people saw it or not, I knew that I was okay, at least sane. Anyway, saying all this to say that for those people who saw me as being stupid or naive or promiscuous or whatever, no, whatever derogatory statements or thoughts that people might have had, I'm okay with it. And you should forgive yourself too. It doesn't mean that we go forward together, but all I'm going to say is that um, the Lord knew what he was doing. Nothing that happens by chance. Everything happens for a reason. And I think if people, like I said, if people that were in my life knew, if I knew, first of all, what I brought to the table, I don't know what I would have been like. I could have been a real jerk. I don't know. I don't see that in me. It's not my personality. But who's to say, if I really knew what I brought to the table, either what I would have did with my own self or what people would have done to me. There's lots of people who are intelligent that are doing some really scary stuff because they're being used for their intelligence. And you know what? Now that I say that, I know that I wouldn't have done anything deliberately. I do believe that I would have been swayed to do some things because when I look back to it, I was manipulated into doing things um with people and for people, just sheer out of not knowing who I was, not feeling comfortable in my skin, not being poured into. So I didn't have the confidence to kind of tell people to kick rocks. Like me standing still right now and kind of hanging by myself is unusual for a lot of people. A lot of people are looking at me like, is she really for real doing this? And I am. Like, I'm so much more happy kind of like healing and being by myself than being around people because, first of all, I don't know who the heck to trust. I don't know who's trustworthy, and it's just safer to be in my space. And during this time of my healing, as I told you, I'm not mentioning it anymore, but I'm going to mention it now just because it's just a part of who I am. I will consistently be in a position of always healing things that happen because we're going to always encounter issues. We're always going to encounter narcissists and liars and manipulators and cheaters and slanderers. And you're going to have, I guess, maybe over time, it will be less healing that has to take place because they just understand this is what life is like. My understanding about life right now is so different than it once was. I don't see people the way I used to see people. I see people as a vessel the enemy can use. And we all have free choice. So you can either be used by the enemy or you can dive and weave and escape the enemy if you're so lucky. The enemy looks to sift us as wheat. Think about what think about what that looks like when you say the sift us as wheat. That is like he wants to destroy us. And the enemy has already destroyed a lot of people in my family line. And this is why the Lord has led me to understand that me and my children and anyone who comes after me, we're put here to break curses in our family line, that this is not new, that this has happened before in my generations before. And so for those of you who are who feel bad, and I know there are probably very few of you, um it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. I don't feel bad, so you don't feel bad. I'm just taking the time to pour into myself, because I've poured into so many people. And they take what I pour into them, and they act like it's them, and they go and they pour into other people. And I decided that I need to pour into me. And I see the difference in myself. I see the difference in how I feel. I see the difference in how I look. And I feel like I deserve it. I deserve to be poured into by somebody. So if it's just gonna be me, it'll have to be me. Sorry, it's hot. If it's gonna be me, it's gonna be me. Until the Lord sends someone that can pour into me, and I know that's how He intended it to be, then I'm gonna pour into myself, because I know what I'm like. I know what someone who's an empath, and that's what I know. I am that. Maybe they call me a super empath or something, or a dark empath. I don't know what I am. All I know is that I do care for people. And the people who have hurt me, I still care for them. I don't want to wish them any harm. All I know is that the Lord had to lead me to understand that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to tell people no. Okay that when people hurt you, to not continue to go back when because people will say sorry. People will give you a sob story how much of a victim they are, how much what you did hurt them, and then they'll go back and do the same thing over and over again. I went through a cycle of, like, I don't know, maybe 6 years, where I was going through consistent abuse by someone who wasn't even family to me. And I did it because I saw what this person was enduring, and knew that if I left, it would be a big problem for this person. And every time I threatened to leave, the person would get, like, would call my bluff, saying, you're not going nowhere. And it wasn't because I couldn't go. It was because I saw if I left what it would do. Anyway, I had to share that because at this stage in the game, the Lord, it's very quiet in my life. It's very quiet. And I can tell that people are understanding that God is real right now. People are understanding that God is real. Karma is real. There's good and bad karma. And I know that people are understanding that they made choices based on what they thought was true. And I pray to God that God is merciful, and that um, that he sees hearts, that people made choices based on what they weren't too sure about, what they might have heard, what they thought they would attain or achieve, because this is what the world promotes, right? So I can't really even grudge anyone about making decisions based on what they thought or what they were hoping, because life is so hard right now. Everyone wants to have a better situation right now. Even with people who have appear to have abundance, still want to have a better life. Who wouldn't want to have a better life than what they have right now? But I'm not saying that's anything wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that I've been led to live a life of gratitude. I appreciate, like I said, I've said this before. Quite often I say this. I appreciate everything. And when I decided to switch my thinking to appreciating what I have, the Lord has just continued to, like, in little ways, just continue to show me that he appreciates my gratitude. And he's been doing little miracles here and there. And I'm not even gonna bore you with them, but they're small, but they're still significant to me. Like, I'm having people do things for me that, like, I might go somewhere and they'll do a little favor. You can have this for free, or you can have this in addition to that, or it's little things like that. And even though it's not a house, it's not a car, but it still shows that you have favor, and that that people see something in you that they want to bless. And I'm so thankful for that. So this is very short, for a very short live, and I appreciate you guys liking the live. I think I'm gonna go over to TikTok though, because TikTok is busy. When I go on there, it's so active. I don't even know what to say about over there. But I'm alert enough that I can actually probably go over there and address some questions. because people had some questions, and I refuse to have intimate conversation with people on any kind of platform. If you have a question for me, like I said, email me or leave a comment in the description of the lives or videos I do, the shorts I do, because I don't know who's messaging me. I have someone who messages me. He's been messaging me over the course of the many years I've been doing the channel. Like, I mean, this person is consistent. I don't know who this is, but it was kind of creepy at the time when it first happened. I find it humorous now, and now I realize it's probably someone who knows me and probably right now knows me very well, which is fine. But I am not going to engage the conversations because I have other things to do. I'm not going to. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there, and I appreciate you guys very much, the ones who've supported me over the years, to keep coming back and saying hi, and whatever way you support me, I thank you. um yeah, there's some things that are unfolding that not even I really know what is going to come of them, but I'm thankful because I trust that the Lord is going to fulfill my promises. He knows my heart. He knows what I deserve and what I would want, and he has planted a seed in my mind to trust him through the process. And I don't know if he's gonna show me that I should share what's happening with me, but a lot of things about me are very private. As much as I've shared, there's a lot more that I could share that I just have not shared. So if there's anything that you'd like to know, you can feel free to ask. But any other way, I'm just not going to share much. I'm just going to share enough to prove, like, to kind of make my point. So anyway, like I said, I thank you guys for all that you've done in relations to your support. I appreciate you so very much. And I'm going to let you go. All right. Thanks so much for your support. I remember, you are made marvelously. You are a very special generation of people. Before I go, I could speak to the climate in the US. I just finished watching Donald Trump talking about if you are a dual citizen, that you have to pick. You cannot be as Canadian, American and as something else. What's going on in the States? Yeah, that's a whole different life. Maybe I'll talk about that on TikTok, but he has lost his ever loving mind. The US will never be the same. Never be the same. There's not going to be like another election. Um, it's just not going to go down that way. Right now, we're like I said, we're seeing smart cities popping up all over the place. I hope you guys took the time to kind of look into the emergency preparedness websites and check out the smart cities that are going up, what that means. And if you know anything about the mark of the beast and what that really is, if you did, there's jeez, I can't remember in Revelations where it talks about the mark of the beast. It really is just basically buying without money. So like you have a chip and you swipe your hand or you swipe your forehead. That's what it is. And if you look at, and I'm saying this based on what, I haven't even gone to the websites about the smart cities per se. I haven't done that thorough investigating yet, but I know for sure it's based on cashless society and them providing for the people in their community without them having to have money. It's like a credit system. And one thing I will say to you is that when they have a credit system, it's almost like, okay, it's like this. When I was playing basketball, my coach should have been my teacher. Like the coaches of the team should be the teachers of the school, but my the teacher of the school that was the coach, her husband was the one who was our coach. He was the one who was gifted, and he was a Bay Street lawyer. And so when we were at school, he was at work doing law stuff. But he would always send one of the team, he would put one against the other. So he'd send one of us that he trusted to spy on us or spy on each other. And so one day we had a game, a very significant game. He's the type of person that would sacrifice an important game to prove a point. So we had a game. I was one of the 5 starters, and some guy at the school, some guy that was popular, good looking guy, he had me cornered and he was talking to me, and I was like, dude, like, we're just talking. But he made his point, whatever else. So he was so he kind of like coached us as like in a military kind of way. We had our warm-up outfit. We come out kind of like in an order, very, polished together, everything we had to do, have the same kind of socks, same kind of shoes, blah blah blah. So we warmed up and everything. And the expectation is the starters come out and we start the game. We set the tone, and then people sub on. Well, when he's doing that, when we finish warm up, take off our warm up stuff, he'll call out who the starters are, and we always know who they are unless someone's sick or something. Well, he called out the starters, and he called out my sub. He called out my sub, not me. So I was meant to sit, and I'm thinking, what the heck did I do? Anyway, it was later to discover that he must have been told that I was talking to some guy at school that day. And I'm like, who the heck? First of all, who told? Who said? And I didn't even do anything. It's like I wasn't supposed to live. It was absolutely insane. So anyway, the point of that is that this particular smart city situation is going to be one where people are going to be monitored, and you're going to have credit kind of thing. And you'll be able to buy and sell a certain amount, like, a certain amount of this, a certain amount of that. Like, it's not going to be free. They're going to, remember, they always tell us it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it no matter what it is. This is what the government does. And then when you get in the situation, you realize, oh, it's really like this. It's almost like when President Trump was running for president, everyone was like, oh, yes, this is the change we need. This is great. You know, this is going to change, make things for the better. And then he got in there and we're like, oh my gosh. This is how it's always, think about it. This is how it's always been. It's like Black Widow Spider, come closer, come. Anyway, they're going to have people buy into this thing. Jamaica just went through a disaster, and I just saw a video of people buying KFC through a vending machine. Like you pick the order you want. I guess they keep stocking it, and you pick the order you want, and it comes down the machine, and you walk away with what you want. Anyway, so this is what it's going to be like. So if you have a chance to kind of research or Google, don't be afraid of Googling. Everything that every business has a site, so Googling is a good thing. Google smart cities and see what it entails, what they're planning on doing. Because they're going to have one, if they don't already have it, in Jamaica. It's supposed to be beautiful. And, I guess kind of like, anyway, Jamaica's beautiful already, so I don't know what we're trying to do. But anyway, I'm going to answer these questions. Michelle Obama. Yeah, it's not Oprah. Beyonce. What are you saying? Oprah and Beyonce are no. Michelle Obama, Oprah, Beyonce. What did I say that you're answering to? You're answering something. Beyonce, Obama. You're talking about the New World Order? You're talking about the Mark of the Beast? When you say these names? Yeah. I'm gonna wait a bit because he may be gone already. Anyway, I'm supposed to be gone. I don't want to spend too much time on. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate that. I don't know what it does to the algorithm. People always say like the video, but whatever. I don't know. It's not doing anything for me. So anyway, if you clarify what you're trying to say, I'll answer you. But if not, I'm gonna head over to TikTok and see and share the same kind of sentiment over there and see what people are saying. I think there's a different set of people that follow me on TikTok than there are on YouTube, so that's where I'm gonna go. But again, I appreciate you guys. Remember, you are made marvelously. You don't be afraid. You were created especially especially for this time. You are a very special, resilient generation of people. The Lord foreknew you, so he planned this. And keep him first, spend time with him, and he will lead you, right? This time there's so much deception. The only way to really know what's going on is to kind of be tapped in with him, because you can make decisions that will change your life. Anyway, all right, love you guys. Until next time, guys. Thank you for the likes again. Until next time, be blessed.